just come. So welcome, Rebecca from Dance City. You're the class and events coordinator there, and you're going to talk to us a little bit about the impacts of COVID on dance classes generally.
That's right. So hello, everyone. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for welcoming me to your community today. I don't meet very many belly dance teachers, although I do work with Kay regularly every week, which is great. So it's really interesting for me to hear what's going on in the rest of the country as well. As Kay mentioned, I work for Dance City, which is a kind of multifaceted dance organisation in Newcastle upon Tyne. So my role is managing our public dance classes. However, we do have other strands as well. We have like an education strand where we have a dance degree and an MA. We do community outreach with hard to reach groups. We have an artist development program, and we also have a performance program in our theatre, which is back up and running now. I'm going to go into a little bit about what we've been doing over the pandemic, kind of in like a timeline context, and I will try not to ramble too much. So first of all, I just wanted to talk a bit about the kind of initial impact of the pandemic. It was a really difficult time for dance organisations to make a decision about what we were going to do. With the very first lockdowns, we had absolutely no choice but to close our doors to the public, rethink our business strategy, and make a plan for the well, what we thought was going to be months ahead, but has turned into being years ahead. So with the first lockdown, something which was really important kind of initiation of a conversation was about teacher employment status and the relationship that we have with our dance teachers. So I know some of you may be fully freelance and won't have had access to things like furlough payments, whereas other people, if you are kind of employed or part employed, then that was something that obviously was like quite a difficult decision for us to work out what's the best way to support professional dance teachers. And I think we did learn a lot of lessons there about if this was to ever happen again, how we would be able to offer that support. The next thing that we had to think about was how we could continue to serve our audience. We knew that there was a lot of appetite for online activity. You'll remember that there was a huge kind of flurry, there was a wave of activity online with the first lockdown. But we were kind of deeply aware that rushing into something without having planned the resources like the technology and staffing and everything that we would need to make it a really high quality experience would have been a mistake. So we actually were kind of like slightly late to the party of like bringing an online product in terms of our public dance classes. And that was a result of really digging deep into exactly how we wanted those classes to look and feel online. So the difference between the online classes that we offer at Dance City and what a kind of independent dance teacher might offer at home are actually quite, it's quite a big divide, and that's mainly in terms of the technology that we've invested in. So we use quite a complex audiovisual system, which means that people at home have like a very high quality experience when they come to an online class, which is quite difficult for independent freelance teachers to provide. So that's something that we have taken a lot of time to develop and invest in. And it also has continuous review as well. So we do lots of market research into how our customers are experiencing our classes, and also like any improvements that we could make to that online experience. So one of the things that we found when we first went online was that not only did we have people kind of returning to us who had been regular attendees in the studio, we also had lots of people attending who were from the wider region, from across the UK, and also from across the world. So immediately we had developed a new audience and kind of bolstered our audience as well. Oh, thanks, Maura. I'm going to answer some questions at the end, so if you can just hold that thought. So what we have been kind of reviewing over the last couple of years is that we have really changing markets. So what people are wanting from dance classes has really hugely changed from the kind of the start of the pandemic until the point we're at now. And I've been saying this to a lot of our dance teachers. We used to be able to quite easily predict what kinds of things people were looking for and what kind of experience that they had in mind coming to Dance City. We found that people's psychology around dance classes and even kind of being in a group situation has absolutely changed, and the way that people would like to interact with dance has changed a lot. And so at the moment, we're working with kind of a constantly changing market and quite an unpredictable market. And so that's a new challenge for us, trying to understand the kind of new normal and the new needs that people have around dance classes. We also have learned to be very reactive. In the past, we had a very kind of stable system and a stable kind of termly or yearly schedule of events. Now we are constantly reacting. We're having to make very quick, short notice decisions based on what's happening with the pandemic, what new government guidelines are, and also by kind of like quick responses from our audience about what they want or don't want. So it has changed the way that we work quite a lot. We've also noticed that after a couple of years of doing online activity, people are starting to experience a kind of Zoom fatigue. So I'm sure some of you will have felt this as well, that spending a lot of time on screens, doing Zoom meetings and online classes, that kind of thing. For some people, it's interesting that some of you are kind of like really advocating for online activity, whereas it is kind of dividing opinion as time goes on. Some people are absolutely sick of being online. Some people are really enjoying it. And so that's something that we're having to deal with as an organisation as well, about how do we meet these two quite divergent demands. So moving forward, now that we're allowed to be back in the studios, we found that there really was a lot of people who just couldn't wait to get back in person. They really missed that group dynamic of dancing together in a team and of that physical kind of in-person connection with a teacher that you don't always feel like you have online. And so we did trial a new style of model, which we called a hybrid model, where some people were still at home on Zoom and other people in the studio. And both of those demographics were dancing at the same time together from the teacher teaching live. We did have quite a bit of success from that last term. Before Christmas, we noticed quite a big drop in attendance online over time. And I think that is related to this kind of Zoom fatigue that I mentioned. People are really looking for that in-person connection, or at least our Dance City audience are really seeking that at the moment. But there is still a kind of a minority, a small core of people who are still very much dependent on those online resources and still prefer to dance online. We are dealing with lots of absences and illness from staff. So that's both within our core team within Dance City and also our wider network of freelance professionals. So that's actually a major challenge at the moment, especially with this new variant. So with Omicron, we're finding it's really like affecting a lot, a kind of a bigger number of people, even if it's not as severe as some of the other strains have been. So we are constantly having to kind of like seek cover teachers and cover staff, which has been a major challenge for the organisation. We've also noticed that lots of people who were teaching for us in the past have really found it difficult to continue to dance or to teach dance over the pandemic. They may have found new jobs or even a completely new career pathway. So that's another thing that we have had to come to terms with, that we've lost some of our teachers who have decided to go in a different direction if they've found that teaching dance has just been too difficult to maintain over the pandemic. We are still kind of considering what the future might hold for us. So our kind of business strategy is really constantly under review, and it always has an undercurrent of kind of plan A, B, C, and D for if different kind of COVID measures were to come into place again. So we have a much more focus on our online products and that end of our strategy, as well as all our other strands, how we would manage, for example, our like dance education programs and our community outreach as well. So I think that's probably all I was going to cover today, unless you wanted me to go into any more detail about the specifics of any of our classes. But I am open to questions if anyone wanted to ask me anything.
My space bar isn't working either. So Rebecca, you said that that you're constantly monitoring, constantly asking questions about how people's experience and what they want, and you said what they want has changed. So what is it that people want now?
Well, I think I would say in terms of like directly having an answer to that, that's quite difficult. We do have kind of market research surveys that we do. So we do lots of online surveys that people can answer via email, but they tend not to be very, they don't have a very high uptake. They're quite time consuming, and people prefer to just kind of like vote with their wallets, if that makes sense. So what we the way that we're measuring a lot of audience development and market research is literally by the numbers in the classes. So for example, we have put on lots of new studio classes this term, some of them which we expected to be very popular because they were in the past. For example, some of our ballet and contemporary classes have had really low attendance, low kind of advanced sales. That's really unexpected for us, and we don't necessarily know why the answer for that, what the answer for that is. But it's something for us to note. And if we were kind of wanting to grow that strand of the business as we were in the past, we might think twice about that again, as we can see that the demand's changed. So yeah, I would say it's a lot of the answers for our market research kind of come from the way that people are accessing what we provide, rather than giving us kind of direct answers to things like audience feedback surveys.
Lovely, thank you. And on that, Beatrice has just asked, have you found audiences, customers have become much more last minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So one example is that we run children's classes, so classes for families with children kind of age 4 to 17. And we used to see those classes book up for like a full term in advance. They would book like the full 14 weeks, pay the kind of upfront amount, and we're just not seeing that at all. People are booking like the day before, and I guess that's just like not knowing what's happening in people's lives, not knowing if they, people are testing all the time, things are happening with schools and workplaces, which are unpredictable. So yeah, like having that the security of those advanced sales was, it kind of did offer us a level of comfort in the past that we're not privileged to at the moment.
Lovely, thank you. And actually, Yala just asked, how do you do hybrid?
Yeah, so what we have done in our studios, we're not actually doing it at the moment because we found that people tend to prefer one or the other. The hybrids didn't quite gel in the way that they did initially, but people were preferring to have the kind of full attention of the teacher, whether that was online or in the studio. But so the way that we created a hybrid scenario in the classroom was that we would have a large TV screen in the back of the studio. The teacher would wear a Bluetooth headset, and their music would also be connected to Bluetooth. That means that there was a really high quality audio and visual link streamed to people at home. So we would just send out a Zoom link, just exactly the same as we've done for this meeting today. We have a waiting list and a register so that only people who had booked could come to the class, and we tick them off as they come through. I will stress as well that although we did do some Zoom classes, including Kay, where it was just the teacher managing that, when we have a hybrid class, we always have a technical assistant, so they are managing all of the technology side of things so that the teacher can dedicate their full attention to the class.
Yeah, and if I can just add in on that, Yala, it's you've sort of got to combine your teaching techniques, because it is quite different online to in person. So it's more difficult to teach a hybrid class than it is to either teach an in-person or a Zoom class. And if you're interested in doing it yourself, I do a private hybrid class with my sort of makeshift version of what Dance City had. But yeah, Lara, if you want to talk about it, feel free to give me a call and I'll talk you through it. Okay. So we've got some other questions. What dance styles are popular at the moment?
That's interesting.
Are people wanting more fitness type classes rather than technique? And yeah, do those first.
I'll answer that first. So yes and no. So we have seen lots of uptake for our like fitness and well-being classes. For example, we do a dance workout, we do yoga, Pilates, and bar fitness class as well. They have been very popular, but I would say not really more so than other classes like belly dance. They're kind of on a par. What we are seeing is lots of new people who are new to dance. So people who have been thinking, it's almost like a really extended version of the new year, new me scenario, where people have been thinking about their life over the pandemic, what they kind of want to get out of their free time, new things that they want to learn, and kind of new skills that they want to develop. So we're seeing lots of new attendees. But yes, I would agree, those fitness classes are very popular at the moment. I think there's definitely a kind of lockdown lumps and bumps that people are looking to lose as well.
Yeah. And what dance styles are popular at the moment? That was the other one.
Oh yes. So something that we are seeing lots of interest at the moment is actually partner dancing. So things like ballroom, salsa, tango, that kind of thing. I don't have a reason for that. Maybe it's just the kind of human connection. There's also like people come with their spouse, or people come alone and they want to partner with others. That comes with a whole host of extra issues that we need to think about risk assessing in terms of contact work in COVID times. But yes, I would say, I mean, there is always the Strictly effect. When we have Strictly Come Dancing on television, we see a bigger increase in people looking to do ballroom and Latin styles.
Brilliant, thank you. And then there was just one from Moira here. Have you changed your marketing strategy to take into account the changes in customers' demand?
Absolutely. So I don't work directly on our marketing department, but I do work very closely with them. We used to really rely a lot on our paper marketing. So Dance City has paper brochures for our classes program and also for our theatre program, the performances. We would have thousands of copies of those printed and distributed throughout the northeast of England. During the pandemic, we completely stopped paper production because we just knew there wouldn't be the footfall in those areas. So instead of investing into that print marketing, we invested a lot more into online. We put a lot more into our online presence. So for example, on YouTube, we had a filmmaker come in and do some trailers for online classes, and for the news, we kind of did a big marketing push for our Zoom strand. So yes, lots more online marketing and particularly video.
Fantastic, thank you, Rebecca. Any more questions, anybody? You can either unmute and shout out or type in.
Can I please ask, what from the strategy is working best? So Facebook, Instagram, could you share this information, please? Thank you.
Yeah, so to be honest, there isn't kind of one strand that's really standing out. As I say, that's probably a question for our marketing team, who have a bit more kind of like in-depth intuition into that side of things. But I know that as I said, we're doing a lot more on YouTube because you can connect that with advertising. So you can have, like our classes trailer, for example, appears at the start of other videos as an advert. And I know that has had a lot of click through to new people who are trying our program for the first time.
So presumably you have to pay for that, though, for the advert to be put out there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We've invested quite a lot of marketing budget into that. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Sorry, one more.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, and what are your audience? So what is the age? Do you have special group, or it's like very like different ones?
Yeah, so we actually have a huge audience. We have, at the moment, despite the pandemic, we have over 600 people attending every week, and that's for a range of different classes. The youngest classes that we do are for age 4 to 6, so primary school, and we have people dancing in our over 55s program who are in their 60s and 70s. We even had a lady come to our Inspire Festival, which was a celebration of dance and aging, who was a 100-year-old ballroom dancer. So really every age group, I would say. The only thing we're not doing at the moment is mums and babies. It's something we have done in the past, but we found that we just had a lot of competitors in the city who were kind of doing more and better than us. So we're kind of releasing the baby strand for now.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any more? Well, I think I'm just going to put us back to, I'm going to knock you off the, remove your spotlight so we're all back on screen.
Thank you.
And I'll just go to gallery here. There we go. So can we just say a big thank you to Rebecca, everybody? Give her a round of applause. Thank you so much, Rebecca. If you want to stay and listen in to the other things, you're more than welcome, or you can just leave us. So I'm going to stop the recording there.